welcome to The Explainer. We're all fascinated by this one big question, right? What does it actually take to live to 100? And not just to live, but to live well. Okay, so check out this number. 422,000. That's the number of centenarians projected to be in the United States alone by 2054. I mean, that's more than 4 times the number we have today. Just think about that for a sec. So yeah, this isn't some random statistical blip. We're talking about a fundamental shift in how we age. It really makes you wonder, how are they doing it? What's the secret sauce? All right, let's get into it. First up, let's just wrap our heads around the sheer scale of this thing. Reaching 100? It's not this 1 in a million lightning strikes kind of thing anymore. It's becoming, a whole new frontier for us. Okay, now look at these numbers. What's really wild here is the acceleration. The number of centenarians in the US shot up by 50% in just 1 decade. Think about that, 2010 to 2020. That growth rate is blowing every other older age group out of the water. It's a huge signal that something is really changing. And then there's the gender split, which is pretty stark. I mean, women just dominate the 100 plus club. But here's the interesting little twist. The number of men living that long is actually growing at a faster rate. So it looks like that big longevity gap between men and women just might be, starting to close a little. So, okay, we've got more people living longer than ever. The obvious question is, what can we learn from them? And it's not just about what's going on inside their bodies, right? It's about their environment, their lifestyle. So let's dig into that, the blueprint for a long life. So researchers started looking for places where people just live longer. And they found these 5 hotspots they called blue zones. We're talking about places in Italy, Japan, Costa Rica, Greece, and even right here in the US in California. The whole idea was to figure out what's the common thread here? What are they doing that we can all learn from? And what they found were these 9 powerful, evidence-based principles. You can kind of group them together. First, there's your outlook on life. It's about having a purpose. The Japanese call it ikigai, a reason to get up in the morning. And it's about having ways to downshift and just manage daily stress. Then you've got diet and movement. And listen, this isn't about crushing it at the gym. It's about moving naturally, like gardening or walking. It's about a diet that's mostly plants, a plant slant, and stopping when you're 80% full, not completely stuffed. And finally, and this one is huge, it's all about connection. Putting your loved ones first, belonging to some kind of community, and having that right tribe, friends who support all these healthy habits. And when you look at their diet, the difference is just night and day. I mean, in these blue zones, something like 95% of what they eat is plant-based. The absolute cornerstone of their diet? Beans. Can you believe it? Beans. Meat is a special occasion thing, maybe 5 times a month. It's the total opposite of our modern processed sugar-filled diet. So this all sounds pretty simple, right? Eat your veggies, go for a walk, hang out with friends. Easy enough. But that brings up a really important question. If you do all this stuff, can anyone live to 100? Is it really just a matter of following the rules? Or is there something else going on here? Well, it turns out lifestyle isn't the whole story. As important as it is, and it is very important, there's another massive piece to this puzzle. And this is where things get really interesting. Let's talk about the genetic lottery. For most of us, genes only account for about 20% of how long we'll live. That's what the classic Danish twin study showed us. But, and this is a huge but, when you start talking about extreme longevity, like living past 100, researchers found that the influence of your genes just skyrockets. It becomes way, way more important. So that same study found there are basically 3 ways people get to 100. You've got the escapers, that's about 15% of them. These are the lucky ones who hit 100 without any major diseases. Then there are the delayers, about 42%, who get those diseases, but not until they're over 80. And then the biggest group, 43%, are the survivors. These folks were diagnosed with something before age 80 and have been living with it for decades. So what does that tell us? It's incredible. The big secret isn't just avoiding disease. It's about having this amazing resilience to it. I mean, 90% of them were still living independently at an average age of 93. Even with chronic diseases, they just keep going. That's the real magic right there. Okay, so how is that possible? This is the part that blows my mind. It turns out centenarians have just as many of the bad genes linked to diseases as you and I do. So what's the difference? Their advantage comes from having a whole bunch of good, protective genes. Genes that basically counteract the bad stuff. It's like they have this built-in genetic shield that defends them against aging. Which brings us to the big takeaway. It's not this epic battle of nature versus nurture, right? Genes versus lifestyle. It's not that at all. It's a partnership. It's a dance. It's about the genetic hand you're dealt and then how you choose to play those cards. I love this saying, genes load the gun, lifestyle pulls the trigger. It just sums it up perfectly, doesn't it? Your genes might set the potential for you to live a long, long time, but it's your daily choices, your environment, that's what actually makes it happen. And really, that's the goal for all of us, isn't it? It's not just about adding more years to your life. It's about adding more life to your years. Healthy, functional years. And that's what centenarians are masters of. They're not just living longer, they're living better for longer. They're extending their health span. So the science is pretty clear on this. Look, you can't go back and change your genes, but what you absolutely can change is your lifestyle. You have so much power over the choices that will determine whether those genes lead to a long, healthy life. And that's the real lesson here. Your environment, your community, your daily habits, those are the tools. So the final question is, what are you going to build with them?